all right, here we are. And the first short story we're going to read today is called The Pale Green Man.
Does it take place in Ireland?
Well, not necessarily. It's just your hometown. Any town, anywhere.
Now you're scaring me.
All right, enough foolishness. Here we go. The Pale Green Man. When was this recorded? This was written October 2003, when I was living in a small town and went through the downtown section, saw the old buildings, and was kind of inspired that one of them could be a 5 and dime store, and imagined who might be in that store and the life story of the people in there. So here we go. I hope you enjoy it.
Does it come with popcorn?
Please feel free to eat your own popcorn. Okay, here we go. A great start. All right. The Pale Green Man, page 1. The sun came down that inky black day, and likewise decided to stay out of sight. Though even in the brightest of rooms and long-lingered afternoons, the sun made little difference to the darkness therein. There, in a corner of a corner shop, stood a frail and fractured man in a pale green aging suit. There he stood, in medium brown, hard-soled shoes, whose laces had more knots than they ought. Their well-worn, pronating heels contributed to his angular lean. A compensating crink of a man was he, his hair parted and perfectly flattened in a style so appealing some other day. Nickel combs were now 25 cents apiece. He had one, the same one he'd always had, in the same pocket he'd always kept it, just behind his suit lapel. Just behind the glass countertop he stood, just behind. A little dip worn in the wooden floor helped compensate for the warp and woof of his soles and his sails. And there he stood, weight sometimes on his heels, sometimes on the sides of his feet, trying to keep afloat after 57 years in very calm seas.
Oh, so he's a sailor?
He's a retail store clerk.
That's significantly worse.
Tell me about it. May I continue?
Oh, yes, my liege, please do.
The strain of command was known to take its toll, but not on him, the clerk in the corner. The owner held the top office, with the chair on wheels. Oh, that was a different world altogether. Imagine that. The chair on wheels, he thought, and smiled only to himself. The thin, pale green man sold skate keys and shoelaces, bobbins and bicycle bells, butter dishes and black plastic combs at 25 cents apiece. Every sundry item for the householder's needs filled the divided and compartmentalized wooden shelves behind him like pockets in a honeycomb filled with sweetness. The bric-a-brac fixtures and fastenings of the store were quite unreplaced over the years. The glass case, too, had its fill of stuffing, though carefully stuffed, and each in its place, to be sure. Here at Pale Green's 5 and Dime, or 5 and Dive, as some called it, the world had stopped, or perhaps just rarely entered. The ubiquitous dollar stores in the ubiquitous malls seemed to take the lion's share these days. How lucky was the man under glass, how unnoticed by wind and sun, how untouched by spring that would pass for the coldest of seasons. How early and late was he for ribbons of races unrun. His kindly expression wore like the pallor of his suit, neither out of place with the notions and curios.
Are there car races? Spaceships? What? Tell me!
No, he's just a store clerk in his boring job, but it's the story of his life. It's a morality play. Just listen, will you? Okay? Oh, short attention span of these millennial roosters.
I'm going for latte. Oh.
Exciting things happen in the lives of kings and monarchs and traveling gentry. Oh, but intrigue and passion filled the salt and pepper shakers poised on the second shelf, next to the whistles, next to the bells. A man in his element, lost to the world, has a world of his own, complete with castle, crown, and courtiers. The rear window dogs, with their bobbing heads, nod in agreement. The cap of the collection diligently dusts his glass countertop. Time eventually comes to destroy the things it once healed. But just behind the thimbles and twine, just behind the pale green breast pocket, time is safe. All that is forgotten is his to watch over. Tomorrow is uncertain. Yesterday is in stock. All the chairs on wheels that cannot sit still have lost their place. All that is useful is still 10 cents. Customs and customers enter and leave, but pale green is forever found among the inventory. Ultimately, though, fall and spring allow for no place of bargaining, no wholesale agreement to keep the shelves from new arrivals. That September morning was fully like any other, and most unlike any preceding it. It was 9:46 a.m. exactly, on the face of the tiny clocks, kept carefully synchronized, when the clerk was informed that the 5 and dime would be closing. The angled brown shoes, the pale green suit, and the man would then know the meaning of being discontinued. The shop would be torn down, and time would catch up. Awaking at 6:15 the next morning beside the long-necked plastic bird, faithfully bobbing its head into a glass of water on his night table, he came to a conclusion. Having faithfully served the company in dip and sway, in season and out, for all his adult life, he was to be left as nothing, with nothing. The glass for him would be empty. Having saved the candle at both ends for so long, he had only waxed old. He walked to work in the usual way, but with something else in his left inside jacket pocket, next to the comb. He stepped behind the glass counter as usual and checked the ticking, the chirping, whirring, and motionless placement of things he had left the afternoon before. Then, with a head full of thoughts and emotion unknown to the suit, he moved toward the stairs. He moved toward the man who made decisions on a rolling chair. Sometimes we watch ourselves as in a role, unable to act against type, or, more faithfully, unable to stop the inevitable once started. At these moments, we see the hand of God felling each sparrow and the measured breath of each man. The office and the owner were surprised to see him. Pale green was rarely known to them, seldom seen out from behind his glass counter. He approached the businessman for what seemed like the length of his career in silence. He reached deep inside his jacket pocket next to his heart and slowly removed the solution. He felt as if he was at that moment holding in his hand the weight of every year. Unable to carry it any longer, he pointed it toward the owner. No word was spoken by either man.
What did he do? Oh, was there blood? Oh, save me!
Yeah, okay. In the remaining years, the pale green man came to wear other colors, brighter colors. His hard shoes were replaced with softer soles, with no need of knots and laces. Likewise, he no longer had a need to serve the clocks and abandon the time given him. That morning, he'd realized what was important to him, and not to the owner. For the sake of the future, he had to take it all away from a forgetful steward with no vision of the past. Pennies and pride are sometimes found among the leaves and covered ground. Pale green had covered much ground, and saved it all for the day he dug into his lapel pocket and pulled out
A gun? A gun? Did he have a gun?
and pulled out a check to buy out the man who would not sit still. Within 6 months he had turned the Five and Dive into a living museum of Americana. His collections in wood and glass and tin, and a time of simpler hope, became permanent displays. His visitors came from all corners, his gift shop extensive. He rented the top floor to businessmen who roll in their chairs and count numbers. And Mr. Walter H. Green found his nest egg in the old world in the newness of spring.
I'm so relieved.
All right. I hope you liked that story, and there's more to come. Stay tuned. It may become suspenseful.
Oh, brother.